Just wanted to check in and recap our last few games before we head into a massive stretch. Strong response from the Group F. The tough loss in Charlotte. We bounced back with a 5-2 win over San Jose. Sané and Molina were brilliant. Followed that up with a dominant 3-0 win over Vancouver. Barely gave them a sniff. Defense solid, and Sané backed another brace. Momentum's on our side now, but they've got 2 hooky games coming up. Philly away, always a battle, and then the big one, New York City at home. Time to prove we're serious contenders.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 64 of Red Bull KloppBot here on Sean Does FM with the New York Red Bulls. I hope you're doing well and come up day. We've got 2 derbies for us in the MLS. First off, we take on the defending champions in both the Eastern Conference and the MLS Cup as we take on the Philadelphia Union, that one in the Turnpike Derby before the Hudson River Derby here, our second one of the save as we host New York City FC. But we've got this far off the back of our last episode where we did play a couple of our first few games in the MLS. They were away as we took on Houston as well as Seattle. So if you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. I have got through a few games since then. Honestly, I did this morning on the 1st of February New Zealand time while waiting for something to come out about FM24. Unfortunately, hasn't happened yet, but we'll get to that when they eventually do drop something in a separate video. But there's that 2-1 win that we picked up there over Seattle as well as the prior 3-2 wins over Austin and the Houston Dynamo. To be fair, since then, we've been a bit more solid at the back for the most part. We backed up that win over Seattle with a 2-0 win away from home against Dallas. Goals there to Renier and Leroy Sané popping up with his first goal for the club off the back of the episode yesterday. He's been in sensational form, albeit not the game after that, as we did suffer a 2-1 defeat to Charlotte FC. Of course, that these days is the home to James DeBio, who unfortunately came off the bench late and did have a little bit of an impact in that winning goal, which was scored by Nahul Bustos. So unfortunately, we suffer our first defeat there of the MLS season off the back of Facundo Molina grabbing an equaliser there a half hour into that one. A little bit of a frustrating result. A quick look there at the stats from that game, and we definitely should have been winning that one. So unfortunately there, we drop our first points for the season there. You can see there just what James DeBio did get up to a 6.8 there coming off the bench. But off the back of that, we bounced back to form with a 5-2 win over the San Jose Earthquakes. Goals there to Renier and doubles to Molina as well as Leroy Sané. So also Molina starting to find some form off the back of yesterday's episode. A couple of players there that I was a little bit sceptical on in terms of the early season form. And coming into today's games, we picked up a 3-0 win over the Vancouver Whitecaps, who to be fair are a little bit of a bottom feeder, it feels like, here currently in the MLS. Sané again with a double, and Facundo Molina yet again picking up a goal. So for the most part, we've been in good form, which is that one loss there to Charlotte FC, and that does mean that currently we find ourselves in second in the Eastern Conference. DC United, the only undefeated team in the East currently, they're 4 points ahead of us, but we do have this game in hand we are about to play when we do take on Philadelphia and going down to the Western Conference. Pretty similar situation there, but Colorado are absolutely miles in front there on 23 points, 10 points further back to the likes of St. Louis City and the LA Galaxy. So Colorado already looking like a pretty solid lock there to finish near the top of the Western Conference. But certainly the East so far has been a little bit more competitive, but we're 4 points behind DC United. So fingers crossed we can pick up some wins in today's episode. 2 derbies, as I said, the Turnpike against Philadelphia and of course the Hudson River, where we do take on New York City FC. I did suggest we might come back for our first game in the Lamar Hunt US Open Cup, but that comes against the Westchester Flames, who are all the way down in USL League 2. So I don't think that would be an interesting game to come back for. A good chance for us there to use some of our rotation players. So instead, we continue to focus on the MLS. Now, first up, we take on Philadelphia, who have had a shocking start to the season. Of course, these guys won the MLS Cup last season off the back of topping the Eastern Conference a few points above us. They did beat St. Louis City in their last game, but before that, got beaten in the Champions League by Deportivo Guadalajara. I want to say that is in fact no Deportivo Toluca. Also before then, no losses to DC United and Nashville and a draw with Austin. So far, these guys are a real poor start to the season. Their captain's still there in Ty Baribo, Dario Saric and Jamie Llewellyn. So to be fair, they've got the same captains and key player as they had when they picked up the trophy last season, but for some reason, had an absolute shocking start to the season. We'll just try and figure out here what they might have actually done in terms of transfers in. And to be fair, not too many big names there that I can see, so maybe they needed to improve a bit more there during the course of the off-season, but fingers crossed we can compound their misery and pick up a win first up. In today's episode is away from home, but I'm pretty sure last season when we took these guys on, we did a hotspots there for Philadelphia. So no hotspots today, considering that second up we are hosting New York City FC, who are definitely a bit higher up the table. They're in fifth, so certainly going a lot better than they were last season here. In the MLS, their captain is Ismael Casas. I'm not too sure if that's different to last season. The Spanish defender there, who looks like a little bit of a handy player, formerly of the Houston Dynamo. Their vice captain, Sean Nealis, I'm pretty sure he might have been here last season. He's a handy centre-back, but is starting to get on their key player, though. That would be Anthony. He definitely was here last year. One of our most hated names here in the save-off back of our first season in the Champions League at RB Leipzig. But certainly, he's a good player, but fingers crossed we can pick up another one here in a Hudson River Derby, pick up 2 wins in derbies during the course of today's episode, and maybe close that gap on DC United up the top of the Eastern Conference. We've only got one injury as well going into today's episode, which is quite nice. It's Colin Mordo, our third choice centre-back. He's out for a further 2 weeks, and that is with some pulled knee ligaments. So unfortunately, I'm missing the tall timber there off the bench for these games, but it does mean that young Jesse Joyce can make his way onto the bench. Of course, a player who had a Generation Adidas contract, and that's how we picked him up from the draft as a second pick. He makes his way onto the bench, so we'll see if we use him during the course of today's episode in one of these derbies. Fingers crossed he can make his debut and do a decent job there. Can the former Atlanta United Academy man with quite a bit of potential, but thankfully the only injury concern to our backup centre-back. To be fair though, we have got MV and Zanotti back, but considering the form of Antwi and Birchamus, going to leave them out of the squad for now while they get back to full fitness, but hopefully can start today's episode with a win away from home in the Turnpike Derby as we take on the defending champions, the Philadelphia Union. And here are the team sheets for our first game of today's episode as we play the Turnpike Derby here against Philadelphia. They're sticking with the 4-3-3 despite that quite poor recent form, but do come into this one off the back of that win, I think it was, over St. Louis City. As we ran through before, a couple of changes to our regular best 11 with Antwi and Birchamus still there over the returning Zanotti as well as MV, but hopefully those guys can continue their good recent form. We can pick up a win and close that gap to DC United to only 1 point. And we don't have to wait long at all here for the first highlight of this game, albeit it is Philadelphia here with a throw, but they make an absolute meal of that at the back. We get the ball there through Julio Cesar. Now Sane gets on the ball in some great form, plays it out there. Zenta pulls it back for Leroy Sane, who already picks up his 6th goal of the season. He's starting to find that form that we want from a designated player, especially on that big old salary, which he is on. To be fair, was a little bit of a peak MLS signing, but to be fair, a lot better than Renier in that role, with still a couple of nice yellow attributes compared to quite a few players who don't have that here in the MLS. But Leroy Sane continues good recent patch of form and makes it 1-0 to the New York Red Bulls, coming up to the 10-minute mark. And in fact, just as we make our way there is now a corner in our favour. Zenta puts that one far post. Unfortunately, can't quite find someone. They hoof that one away there to the Union, but thankfully we do get that ball back. Eventually it goes back there to Tickbitch as well as Cesar plays that ball forward there to Zenta, who starts to try and find some room here down our left-hand side. Plays it back in there again to Leroy Sane, but they clear it away there briefly to the Union. And they're going to try and make their way here out from the back. Garcia now on the ball, but is taking his time. Connell now starts to make his way forward, but that pass gets intercepted by Zenta. It goes there to Molina, who links up with Renier. Our 2 DPs will score our first 2 goals in this game, and already we might be picking up our second Turnpike Derby of the save last season. You could argue a bit of a surprise that we bet these guys, considering when we took them on, they were the runaway leaders in this Eastern Conference. But so far this season, they're out of form. You can kind of see it only 10 minutes in as Renier makes it 2-0 to the Red Bulls. And in a few minutes off that second goal now, Zenta again there on the attack, tries to float that one far post. Unfortunately headed away, but Antwi now makes his way into the box, tries to pull that one for Renier, looking for a double. He might get a chance here from the penalty spot, because there does look like it should be a penalty waiting here for the VAR check. Thankfully, it gets awarded. We could go 3-0 up here inside 13 minutes, albeit by the time Sane actually takes this penalty, that won't be the case. But Sane gets himself on a hat-trick, his 7th goal of the season. As I said, really picked up his form off the back of yesterday's episode. It's a gift, that one. Philadelphia looking shocking compared to last season. 3-0 up, just shy of 15 minutes in. And the early action continues in our favour in this game, just past the 20-minute mark now. We have a corner. Zenta puts that one near post and Tikvich rises and bags his third goal this season. We are looking a bit more threatening from set pieces that we did say during the course of yesterday's episode. In Philadelphia have no idea what's hit them so far here in this game. Gomez gets beaten there at the near post. To be fair though, did pull out a quite acrobatic attempt at a save, but couldn't stop that one. 4 shots, 4 goals, 4-0 in front. And we go for another 10 minutes, and it is a chance for us here from a set piece, this time going far post. They're looking for Ami that time, can't quite find him. But Tikvich goes looking for the top right corner. Not a bad effort there with his foot from our centre back. Some confidence off the back of that goal that he scored to make it 4-0, but just misses the target. Now we go down the other end. A bicycle kick there from a Philadelphia Union player, but thankfully it goes off target. So to be fair, that was quite interesting. That would have been an interesting goal to peg back there, even if they were still 4-1 behind. But so far this first half has been complete domination. Only 2 minutes of added time. Exceptionally happy with that first half. We only have 5 shots overall. It's actually not on the front foot as much as you'd expect so far in this game. But XG wise, it's been a brilliant performance. Sane with a double. Rene and Tikvich also pop up with goals. Very happy as we've got a 4-0 lead going into the second half. And it looks like the tide's going to continue here in the second half in our favour. We have a throw in here down our right-hand side, but unfortunately aren't we? Can't quite link up with someone, and Philadelphia do get that ball back. Now Saric plays that one forward there to one of his teammates, and they'll actually try and do something here quite nicely on the counter-attack. Llewellyn, their key player, makes his way inside the box. A good chance there for their striker, but Frigerio comes up with a massive save, so a good chance there for Philadelphia to strike back early here in the second half. Thankfully, they don't take it off the back of that. A little bit of loose passing, but still 4-0 with a half hour left. And not too long off the back of that, we might make a sub here because Genesis, aren't we, has just dropped down to a little bit of a deeper yellow heart. Considering that Zoneri does need some game time coming back from injury, might be a good chance here for us to bring him on. I think for now, though, that's the only sub that we're going to make. Still 4-0 in front. And now that we're about to make our way into the last 15 minutes of this game, I think it's time for us here to bring on some of our young stars off the bench. So Joe Apples can come on. Bezenta, who to be fair, has a brilliant game there at left back. Also, Jesse Joyce can make a debut coming on for Wisdom Mummy, the lowest rated so far of the centre backs. But to be fair, both of them have been very good so far in this game. MV can come on at left wing, quite similar to Nolly there, getting some game time for him coming back from injury. And Edelman, he can come on for Pirani, the other player out there, not quite on a green ring, but to be fair, everyone else out there is doing a super job as we're about to make our way to the last 10 minutes of this game. Still Philadelphia, not doing too badly stats-wise, but somehow it's 4-0 in our favour. Now we've got a corner here. We try go far post, can't quite link up with anyone, but some good short passing here inside the box. And Leroy Sané finds himself in space. Fingers crossed he stayed on side, because that would complete a hat-trick and complete a 5-0 rout here in the Turnpike Derby. And indeed, that goal will stand. Leroy Sané, his first hat-trick here at the New York Red Bull. So it's taken a little while, but eventually finding some form here in the MLS. A bit unfortunate, as I said earlier this season, that we didn't have a few more competitive games before we got stuck in to the CONCACAF Champions League. But to be fair, I think Tigres have now made their way through to the quarterfinals. They're actually doing quite well there in that competition. We'll see if they can go on and win the whole damn thing. As Philadelphia here briefly will go down to 10 men with someone going off the field there with an injury. They float that ball far post though, and Patricio Nunez will head that one home. So no clean sheet bonus there for our defenders in this game. Also Jesse Joyce before then did pick up a yellow card, but Llewellyn there floats that one into the mixer. Unfortunately, Zanotti there gets out jumped at the far post from Nunez, and they do grab a consolation goal. Based on stats, it's probably the least they deserve. XG wise, this game actually not that heavily in our favour, but somehow with our 6 shots on target, we've scored 5 goals. So very efficient in front of goal, obviously helped out by Leroy Sané with that hat-trick. To be for one of them was from the penalty spot, but he clearly is our player of the match. Renier as well as Tikvich also popped up with goal. Zenta with quite a few assists as well, so a lot of good performance from us there in that game. But that is a very good win over the defending champions, who might be on the rocks early here this season, especially in the Supporters Shield. Don't think they got much chance of getting up near the top of that. To be fair, last season that was won though by Real Salt Lake. To be fair, looks like Colorado could dominate that Western Conference and be hard to run down in the Supporters Shield yet again. But for now, that closes the gap on top of the Eastern Conference to only 1 point behind DC United. Hopefully, we can keep the pressure on when we come back for the Hudson River Derby against New York City FC. And here are the team sheets for our second Hudson River Derby here of the save. Hopefully can keep New York Red here in this game. Obviously off the back of that 5-1 win over Philadelphia. Absolutely no changes. I'm not mental. Here in New York City, they did pick up a win in that game the same match day where we did take on Philadelphia. They're going with a 4-2 3-1. Fingers crossed though, we can beat them in what's now a second versus third clash. And as I said, keep the pressure on DC United up the top of the Eastern Conference and also keep this town red. And just like in that previous match, don't have to wait too long here for the first highlight again here too. We are on the front foot, camped here inside of the city half as now Zenta makes his way down that left-hand side. Of course, played really well in that first game against Philadelphia. It goes out there. I think that was actually to Arnwe. Took on the shot there, and I think that one was clipped onto the crossbar. Can't quite make its way into the back of the net on the front foot early, but still 0-0. And we go forward to the 15-minute mark, and now it's actually New York City here who do have the ball and start to make their way into our half. But good tracking back there from Renier to win that ball back for us. Plays out there to Birchamus, who, as I said, doing a good job while MV has been coming back from injury. Some nice short passing there. Renier with a little bit of a speculative effort from just outside the box. But unfortunately, that one goes just over the bar. But much like in that Philadelphia game on the front foot, but this time not quite as lethal in front of goal. Fingers crossed that changes here with Leroy Sané on the attack. It's a good chance for him, but unfortunately just comes off the wrong side there of the woodwork. It nearly looked like it might sneak its way into the back of the net. Unfortunately, can't quite do that like he was doing in that previous game where he picked up that hat-trick against Philadelphia. But so far, definitely on the front foot in this Hudson River Derby. And now at the half-hour mark, we have a corner going far post, and Tikbich will take that one off. Ami will pick up goals in back-to-back games and make it 1-0. And based on the highlights that we've seen so far, I think we deserve that. Zenta having a blinder here today with all the assists that he's picking up this time from a set piece, and we finally go 1-0 in front. And a little bit surprisingly, things have quieted down off the back of that first goal, which we did score, but so far pretty happy with how we're doing in this game. Both derbies today we've been quite good in terms of what we're seeing in the match engine, just slightly on the front foot here in terms of stats, especially compared to that Philadelphia game, which honestly was a little bit weird, but this one we deserved that 1-0 lead thanks to that header that Tikbich did put away. We're going to take off, aren't we, on that yellow card position. So to be fair, it should be an upgrade going in to the second half, but hopefully we can kick away and pick up another win in the Hudson River Derby, as it's only 1-0 in our favour. And 10 minutes in the second half here, we get the first highlight of it as Rojas will pump that one deep there for New York City. Unfortunately, can't quite do enough there to keep hold of that ball. A bit of a back pass, but unfortunately, they do keep hold of it there. Bruno Navarro tries to make his way forward down the left-hand side. Actually does quite well there to keep hold of that ball. And somehow Rodriguez finds himself in a ton of space there in the centre. And Santiago Rodriguez will put that one away. The one attack we've seen so far from New York City. And they make it 1-1 in the derby. So maybe our defence hasn't quite toned up as much as I would like off the back of yesterday's episode. To be fair, I haven't changed anything. It just feels like a bit more game time together. These guys are starting to gel a little bit better, but unfortunately we can see early in the second half 1-1 in this New York derby. And just about to make our way into the last 20 minutes of this match, still locked up at 1-1, but Renier on a 6.7 drops down to a red heart. Housawi can come on for me, doing a pretty good job off the bench so far this season. Fingers crossed that continues and he can help us take the lead. Still 1-1 with 20 to go. And in fact, only a few minutes after that previous sub, now it's time for us here to make a couple more. Leroy Sané drops down to a red heart. So Patricio Jimenez on the bench today can come on in that advanced playmaker role, because we'll also actually, I think here, take off Birchmas doing an okay job, but for MV, hopefully he can step up here in this derby, one of his first games back from injury. Let's hope some first team quality does get shown here off the bench as we start to make our way to the last 20 minutes of this game. And right off the back of those subs, we have a highlight. Zenta will put this one into the mixer. Unfortunately, they cleared it away, but Zenta finds himself there in a ton of space and curves that one around Rojas to give us a 2-1 lead. So with about 15 minutes left, we take the lead here in this Hudson River Derby, and that's exactly what we're after. Zenta having another blinder of a game here, plays that one into the mixer, it goes back out. MV will pick up the assist, but to be fair, Zenta's still a lot of work to do, and that does actually take a bit of a touch from a C defender, but he puts it away to make it 2-1 Red Bulls. And a few minutes off the back of that Zenta goal to make it 2-1. Also a few people knocking on my door, so a little bit thrown off there. We are going to make our last couple of subs. Going to bring on here Apples for Zenta, albeit in fact only one sub left. So instead of taking off Zenta on quite a good rating, we'll take off Pirani on a red heart. That'll be for Daniel Edelman with our final sub. And also, while we here might just start to do a little bit of lower tempo stuff, and also start to time waste just a little bit, slow things down in terms of goalkeeper distribution. And hopefully that means that no chance here for New York City FC to work their way back into this one, get a chance to make it 2-2 net. Would be 2 good wins during the course of today's episode. Now we make our way to the final 5 minutes. Let's start to time waste just a little bit more frequently. And apart from that though, we should be okay, maybe turn off as well that run at defence that KloppBot said we should do here in the MLS. Bit of a different instruction than what he had us doing back at both RB Leipzig as well as Omiya Arudija. But make our way into the last couple of minutes of this game. Having to work our way here out from the back, but so far doing a pretty decent job to get it for that Jimenez, who makes his way into the opposition half, picks out MV there in a bit of space down our left-hand side, fizzes that one in there for Facundo Molina, who will put that one away, and that'll seal back-to-back derby wins for us here. In today's episode, we are again going to keep New York Red here with a win in the Hudson River one, and that will make it 3-1. So a couple of quite comfy wins, albeit this game definitely a bit tighter in terms of the scoreline than the one that we did just play against the Philadelphia Union, which despite the stats actually being a bit more even than this game was a bit of a blowout 5-1 in our favour. This one kept a little bit tighter, but thankfully looks like we might pick up a 3-1 win. In fact, maybe we might make it more there as we on the attack. A late chance here for MV from a tight angle. A save from the goalkeeper parried out, but unfortunately no one there to bundle at home as we make our way into the last minute here of added time. A late yellow card there for Zanotti. Hopefully it was a good tackle that might have injured one of our derby rivals, but thankfully we picked up a 3-1 win, keep New York Red here with that win in the Hudson River Derby. In the end, a slight setback there around the hour mark, but thankfully fought back with those goals to Tikovic as well as that late one, which Molina did put away. But him and Sane, as I said coming to today's episode, have started to find some form. Thankfully, that continued in both those games. And for now, we go above DC United onto the top of the Eastern Conference. So 2 good derby wins for us there during the course of today's episode. I actually forgot to see there below our result on that post-match screen that actually DC United suffered their first loss of the season, absolutely smashed their 5-1 by Orlando City. So despite the fact we have a game in hand, we're on top of the Eastern Conference. So fingers crossed that's where we can stay, and we might get a shot potentially try and actually win the Supporters' Shield here this season, depending on if we can keep this form going. Currently joint on points with the Colorado Rapids, who to be fair have started to slip up a little bit during the course of today's episode. I imagine though, with just a few more draws, they're still the only unbeaten team in the MLS, but we're starting to find our form. Maybe those new signings starting to gel a bit better than they were at the start of the season. Indeed, all those things there in terms of club atmosphere and also managerial support do suggest that that might be the case. But I think that will do it for today's episode. 2 good derby wins, as I said, over Philadelphia as well as New York City. If you enjoyed that one, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. Now next time we'll come back, it might depend on who we get in the next round of that Lamar Hunt US Open Cup, because you'd imagine even with a full rotation we should get past that team there from USL League 2 in the Westchester Flames. Atlanta United going a bit fairly this season. SKC, my team, not much chop these days. LA Galaxy was supposed to be one of the pre-season favourites, so maybe that's a game we can come back for, especially because right off the back of that, DC United, up until that previous game, had looked quite good so far in the Eastern Conference. So I dare say we'll come back mid-May around those 2 games. We'll definitely play DC United considering how well they're doing here in the East, and we'll pit it up either with the LA Galaxy, or if we get a good tie in the US Open Cup, we might come back for that one as well. So until then, thank you very much for watching, keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.